All right. Welcome back to the BJJ Live podcast. I'm again here with Alex Brooker, and we're going to talk about some different things today.
Cool, mate. Thanks for having me back.
All right. So we focused a lot on like the physical side of training last time, and today we want to go a little bit more into like the mental side of things. This is also really relevant for me myself because preparing for tournaments, I've always felt like the mental side of things was always where I struggled the most. Like even if I was in good shape, I trained the jiu-jitsu, and then like the performance breaks down because like you don't trust yourself or like you're having those bad thoughts, and that's something I want to really improve myself, and I think he's been helping me a lot with that, and hopefully he can share some cool stuff today.
Yeah, mate. I mean, for me, this is the most important thing in terms of sports performance. I've trained many people that were in fantastic shape, and yet they just were unable to sort of utilize their potential or realize their potential, let's say, during a competition. And I've also seen it the other way around too, where I've known that people haven't been in the best shape and yet they've managed to turn it around. And this has happened with, people winning Olympic gold medals when, they weren't sort of expected to do it, or they certainly weren't the best in physical shape or what. So,
That's actually interesting because I kind of thought that was always the myth, like, like you don't raise to the level of your expectation, but like
you fall to the level of your training.
Exactly, but apparently there's some exceptions to that.
I think so, man, and I think that there's always exceptions to the rules with different things with people. But it's funny how you see this with different athletes, and I've seen it too with some of mine. For me, one thing I want to just say first of all is that performance in any sport is a byproduct of how the person's feeling. Like it's not. No matter how good shape you're in, how much you've prepared and everything like that, if your life is in complete disorder beforehand, the chance that you're gonna, perform that well is actually quite low, and I'm very lucky that some of the people that I've been working with, especially this year, this year in particular, things like performance anxiety that, a lot of people get. This can really be debilitating for people. People can go from really world-class performance and being current world champions to then really struggling to qualify. And a lot of it's to do with, honestly, the story that we're telling ourselves. Because, the way I like to sort of introduce this topic is that, our eyes are receiving, stimuli and information, but we're also projecting information. And that's based on the filter of the narrative. So, me and you could see, you're down in jiu-jitsu, 4 minutes is down, you're losing on points, you feel like you're getting trashed, and, I could be lying there thinking, even better, I'm going to turn this around, and, I want the drama. I'm glad that someone's helping me to raise to my potential, and someone else can literally, defeat themselves in their own mind and just be like, it's too late, it's over. When, it really, nothing's finished until the bell goes off,
Yeah.
So that's the way I like to introduce it. Do you have anything in particular you want to
Not
ask
really,
with it?
but I just you brought up the thought in me that something I tell people from time to time, and like everyone has like this voice in their head, and like some people criticize themselves so hard, and like they say stuff about themselves that they would never say about someone else.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, why do you talk to yourself like this? You would never like dare to talk to someone else like this. So like treat yourself with some respect. So just
Yeah. I mean, it's a very interesting thing. I mean, if you ask anybody to sort of close their eyes and imagine something that makes them really angry, people can do it pretty well, right? And then what happens, right? We create an image in our mind, which then kickstarts a whole load of chemical processes, and our thoughts create feelings create emotions create behavior, and behavior changes the fabric of reality, and for a lot of people, self-talk and really the narrative is called, like the story we're telling ourselves. A lot of people, you would be amazing. A lot of people also, sometimes they don't realize their own self-talk, or they think they're so bad, and in fact it's really just at a normal level. And then if we ask people to do the opposite of what I just said, imagine something that makes you feel full of joy and happiness and love, and excitement, sometimes people really struggle for this, and it's, you know, it's the same exercise, it's just flipped on the other side. And you know,
You just remind me of something that when he said like the thoughts start the whole thing and then your behaviors, but it also loops back around, right?
yes, of course.
So
Exactly.
this brings me back to one thing that helped me a lot in the past, and it's like this really stupid phrase, but just fake it till you make it.
Yep.
And it's so true. Like
It is. Yes.
it has been through around all areas in my life, even BJJ competitions, and I'm sure you can find some videos of me where you can just see like I'm pretending to be some other guy that I'm looking up to.
Yeah. Yep.
And by acting like he acts before the fight, I put myself into the mindset.
Yes.
And I don't get nervous anymore.
Yes.
And everything's fine. But
Yes.
I'm just faking it until my body, like my brain catches up to what my body's doing.
Sure, but what's the most amazing thing is that in the process of faking it, you already are that person, right? So I mean, you know, it's actually fascinating that you know. But I know that you've done this. I mean, because I know you personally, but you've managed to be very successful in a lot of things that you've done. And why? Is because you invested a lot of time, I know, from your other martial arts background in focusing on, you know, visions, you know, the way you want to behave, you know, the way you know, different goals that you want to get. So you sort of understood this sort of framework of taking complete responsibility for how you feel, what's going on in your life, the way you're thinking, the results you're getting. Like, you took 100% responsibility for that for a long time. That's why you've sort of taught yourself how to do it. You know, you think about children when they're playing. What are they doing? Like, you know, their imagination, and they're playing these roles. But it's, you know, it's a fundamentally important thing that we do, you know. And, you know, there's a thing called mirror neurons. So they know that, you know, visualization works. Why? Because like what I just said to you before, you know, you think about something, it creates images, which then kickstart a whole chain process. And before you know it, you're sort of cementing motor patterns and building neural connections that, you know, didn't exist before. So, you know, it's a fascinating topic, man, you know. And you see it also in other guys too, like some of these very successful dudes, like McGregor, for example, is a perfect example of someone that basically, you know, talked himself into achieving things that, you know, everyone said it wasn't possible. But it's just, you know, it's amazing what self-belief and real confidence in yourself and what it can do, you know. And like you said, it's a positive feedback loop.
But let's say someone right now is a little bit more at rock bottom, like, because I know when I started this, like, I was like, it was a process to get to where I am today. But like, I first started with the fake it till you make it, but I was actually like not even close to that. I just pretended to be the person that I want to be. And everything I acted was like, you ask yourself, like, what would that person that I want to be do right now? And not like, So do you have any recommendations of someone who's like just starting out, maybe like they're in a really bad spot right now? Like, how would they kickstart this positive feedback loop?
Yeah, I mean, comes back to from the old part, it depends, I think, very much on context. But I think, you know, like really talking to someone that sort of the person respects and is, you know, in whatever way you want to define success, like, or my definition of success, first of all, is someone that, you know, progresses towards an ideal outcome, right? So someone that, you know, sort of can show and be a guide to this person, and he can be a friend or dad or uncle or, you know, a mental coach, whatever you want. But I think it, you know, the important thing is that, you know, you have to pay the price to feeling good and becoming someone different than what you are, you know. And that comes from, you know, sacrifice. And, you know, these slow down moments are just, you're paying the price just to come back up. And this is the time where, you know, you should really, you know, enjoy the moment, which I know it's you know, it's easy said than done, but you really should, because you're trying to reorientate yourself and come up with the, you know, the two most important questions, which for me is, you know, what do you really want? Like, what do you really, really want? And who do you want to become? Because once you know those two questions, I mean, and honestly, it doesn't even really matter what those two things are. You can start orientating your life towards them. And, you know, you're in a bad position, you know, that's just life, you know. It's like flipping a coin. Sometimes you're happy, sometimes you're sad. It's like the weather. Sometimes it's sunny, sometimes it's rainy, you know. But if you just understand that everything's always passing, like the happiest moments you ever had in your life, they passed, right? Saddest moments, they passed. And if you want to go up and reach the highest of highs that you've not done now, well, guess what? You're going to probably have to pay the price first of the lowest of the lows to get up there. So as long as you sort of zoom out on a bird's eye view of that, you can just love the whole process. So then, you know, you sort of become indifferent to it. And
so it's really important that you know where you're going, right?
yeah.
Because like, yeah, if you don't know where you're going, how are you gonna get there?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you know, I like to use the metaphor of sailing. You know, I mean, you know, imagine you're in a boat in the middle of the ocean, and you know the horizon, you don't see anything, and you don't have the sails up, and you know you're in this boat, and it's, you know, you're getting pulled side to side from different currents. You know, you've got storms that are coming in and raining down on you, and you just feel helpless and lost, and you know, just don't know what to do with yourself. And I know a lot of us feel like that at different points. But I mean, the most important thing is just to pick a destination of where you want to go to. You know, it doesn't even matter if you can't see it or you don't know if it exists or not. And that doesn't really matter at all. Because then what you can do is you can, you know, chuck the sails up and then start harnessing, you know, the magic of life. And, you know, no matter if storms are coming in or not, you can just ride through them with a smile on your face and enjoy the journey. Because, you know, everybody thinks that they're going to get to some point in their life where they're happy and that's it. Like no more bad things or sad things ever happen to them. But that doesn't seem to be the case whatsoever.
I remember I've even read studies on this. Like, there's like a default happiness.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember what it was. It was like something like 7 out of 10 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what happens or what you do, like you can go higher or lower, but it doesn't really matter where you are in life. Like you always come back to this balance. So even if you achieve like everything you ever dreamt of, you might feel, I don't know, 10 out of 10 for a while, but then you'll go back to that 7 out of 10.
Of course.
If you hit rock bottom and everything goes bad, you'll still be happy at that 7 out of 10 after a while, probably.
Of course. Yeah, it all has to balance out. I mean, if you want to be happy and then happy and then, I mean, what is this, you know? Like, I mean, you know, and it depends. I mean, what is success, you know? Like, you look at someone, for example, you know, a good example, maybe Robin Williams, right? He probably was successful and people say, I wish I would have his life. He's famous and rich and, you know, been in movies, you know, the guy, you know, he was living in such a torturous place inside of his own mind that, you know, it caused him to finish the game early, you know. And the number one rule for life, at least my opinion, is you don't die. You know, you do whatever you can to not die. And, you know, it's, I don't know, man. I think it's just mindset. It's just the way you know, so many people, you know, and you know, now as time goes on, I managed to take all of the fantastic athletes that I've been training, and now I'm transitioning from just only providing physical training to them to psychological training. And, you know, athletes are very interesting people because, you know, really the thing that's different from them to everybody else is not necessarily just the physical genes or whatever, it's actually mindset. Because a lot of them have realized that, you know, if you want to get something, you have to sacrifice and perseverance and belief and, you know, imagination and trying to be relaxed and having fun, you know, and they sort of just have built this sort of mental resiliency and mental strength. I don't know if I like the word, but that might be the easiest way of understanding it. And, you know, so many people, you know, they say, why did this have to happen to me? You know, but if you change that 2 for a 4, like, why did this happen for me? You can suddenly try to gain a bit of power over it and rewrite the story that you have on it. And then that can sometimes just give you a bit more feeling of control. And, you know, you shouldn't be, in my opinion, shouldn't be worried for the future. If you're writing it in this moment now and you're focusing on doing the things that you know are going to help take you closer to where you want to go, the future doesn't need to become something that's sort of scary, you know?
All right, so this has to be a short episode since we have to wrap it up early.
I need to go. Yeah, I need to get to the airport. That's a shame.
But just to wrap it up, so the 2 questions, could you maybe repeat them again? Like, let's say someone's listening to this and they have never done anything of this. So what do they have to figure out for themselves?
Well, you know, for me, you know, before I start working with people a lot, the 2 questions they really need to answer is, you know, I'm a genie. I can make anything happen, but you can't change it. So what do you really, 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 really want? Which is a really difficult question. And that's caused some people to stay up at night. They can't sleep because of it. But that's a really good question. And then, who do you want to become? And they're really good questions just to even ponder on. And even if you have a good idea on them, spend time on them every now and then. Some guys like to do it every day. I have guys journaling and really trying to understand, details of this person, and so that we can really orientate our actions into it. Because like what we said, thoughts, great feelings, they end up becoming behaviors. The way you interact with the world changes the fabric of it, and then it becomes this positive loop. And in my opinion, you're either spiraling up or you're spiraling down. Nothing seems to stay the same. Everything's in flux. A tree's either, growing or it's dying. I mean, that seems to pretty much be the way, and it's just the way you decide to look at life. And, no matter how down or bad you're feeling, or you think things couldn't get worse, well, it doesn't take much effort to realize it could be a lot worse, and other people have, and you can turn life around on an instant, and should always be, trying to make each day that you wake up excited for the day because of what you're planning for it, and go to bed more aligned with those two questions, so then you can just sort of, you just gain this level of, excitement and confidence and, and joy because of what you're doing. So, but yeah.
Cool. That wraps it up pretty well. Thank you so much. I think we could spend a lot more time on this topic.
For sure.
It'd be cool to have you back soon. All right. Thanks for listening. And
lovely. Cheers.
See you back next time.
Yeah. Ta-da.